Dear Ting-Tong Chang, I hope that this message finds you well. Many thanks again for making an application to participate in Yen Registered Trademark Dagger International 2016. There has been an incredible response to the open call, and I have been overwhelmed by the range and diversity of proposals that were received from artists across the world. Unfortunately, on this occasion, your proposal has not been selected. Thank you for your recent application to our OE Ligature. Thank you very much for your application for the grants for Dagger Yen paragraph. Your infinity of the foundation of function symbol partial differential flat enunciate application. Thank you for your recent application for the superscript A paragraph sign/live art call out. Unfortunately, on this occasion, your application has been unsuccessful.
So I just thought, I was just going to use the technology, whatever available nowadays, to have some sort of contemporary catch.
Sure.
So I use a lot of physical computing, which is much easier. I decided to use a 3D printer, so I can design by computer and print it out, so I can design my own movement. So as the cross is all about the failure of artist, basically. So the code just keep repeating all the failed application I done all my life. So it's always get like rejection letters. So it's always about, dear Mr. Chang, you have such an amazing work, but unfortunately.
But however, nevertheless, with enormous sadness, we have to tell you to go away and do something completely different. Because there's always an issue between an automaton maker and what the automaton then does, precisely because, and this is one of your themes, because of the program, that on the one hand, we absolutely know when we're looking and listening to these birds that they're not going to do anything surprising, but surprising to you, because you've programmed them, right? But they're surprising to us. So we're always in this very unstable situation when we see an android or an animatronic or an automaton on show, that we absolutely know it's programmed and we have no idea what's going to happen next. And 250 years ago, that was a way of making sense of the problem of free will. So one of the things I adore about the game you're playing with these birds is that they stand for repeated failure. They stand for the endless pile of rejection letters that you get.
In a way, it's robotic already. It's like pre-programmed. So they just need to change the name from Simon to Bill to Peter. So in a way, how our world or like contemporary life is full of robotic things. What is real? What is living things? What is artificial things? And so of course then I use a real crow, then I kind of cut it open, make it into a robot in a way. And then secondly, it's about how then you see the idea of the artist behind it, in a way, so why I programmed this and what is a dialogue. But then at the same time, you don't really know if I'm being really serious or not. So always some sort of ambiguity between living and dead and the artist, if it's authentic or not.
Seeing what's really going on in the world is always also seeing the machinery inside and seeing what's behind. And I think that's part of what is going on here. Is that a Taoist idea?
Taoist idea would be more about what is appearance of, like, for example, there's a crow, there's a pigeon, seen as like different individual living things, but actually everything's related. In a way, like they call it Tao, they call it like the linkage between sky and the earth. It's about some sort of circulation behind everything. So in a way, it's related.
And one of the things that I think is very striking about the Orientalism of automata in European culture is that for a very long time, Europeans thought that it was the East that was the land of the automaton, for three reasons. One, that the Easterners love automata, Secondly, there's a kind of paranoid conspiracy theory that Europeans often have, which is that Easterners want to make everybody else into robots. The European idea that Easterners are fatalists, that they don't have a very strong idea of individualism or freedom. So for those three reasons, they like automata, they want to make us automata, and they basically are automata. There's always been that Eastern theme. This kind of design and construction, I think, is also absolutely what's at stake here. We are at a moment now where the whole politics of mobility, migration, labour and skill is right at the top of the agenda, partly because of racism, partly because of xenophobia, partly because of bad and good reactions to certain kinds of globalization. It seems to me a lot of that is going on in your work, especially in this set of installations, right? And I think that animatronics is a very interesting way of thinking through and showing some of what's at stake there, precisely because concealment and invisibility and amnesia, that what the new information technology revolution means is a much greener, less exploitative environment. This is, of course, rubbish. And one way in which it's obviously rubbish, and yet hides the fact that it is by systematically drawing our attention away from the production of the commodities on which objects like this depend. So all the rare earths inside the circuits that drive the crow are invisible to us, just like all the assembly lines which make all the machinery on which we depend.
Actually, a lot of part I take from toys.
Yeah.
So it's kind of mass-produced toys. So it's always like it's fully covered, so you have to kind of open it up. But you don't know how many messages are there within mechanism. Actually, a lot of workers, they write message within the circuit board. So a lot of them are Chinese, so it's written in Chinese, something like Chang was in here, or something like don't copy these circuits, or something. Some people just write helpful, something. So you kind of feel like, oh, actually, hidden in the toys is always really happy, really cheerful. It's like really hairy, full of feathers. But at the same time, inside is full of the lines of production, the global scale. So I would think, so maybe the only message an artist can pass on is more about the environment he's living in, or the art production he's encountering, which is highly exploited than before. So a lot of my work is about that.